Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever had someone walk away from your life, leaving you shattered, only to return when you've barely started to heal? Isn't it strange how those who once caused the deepest wounds suddenly knock at the door of your peace? Now here's the truth. It's not about you. It's about them. Yes, it's about their fears, their regrets, their unspoken battles. But the question is not why they come back. The question is, what should you do when they do? This question is not just about relationships. It's about reclaiming your power, standing firm in your identity, and living above the cycles of pain and regret. When someone who has hurt you comes back into your life, it is often a reflection of their internal struggles rather than a clear desire for reconciliation. To understand why they return, we must first delve into their motives, which are often hidden beneath layers of emotion, regret, and self-preservation. Many times, people return because of unresolved feelings. They might have realized, perhaps too late, the value of what they had with you. When the initial emotions that caused them to hurt you, be it anger, frustration, or insecurity, settle down, they are left to confront the void created by your absence. This void is uncomfortable, and instead of working through their emotions, they look to you to fill it once more. They come back seeking solace, not because they have necessarily changed, but because they are seeking relief from their own internal turmoil. Another reason they might return is guilt. The human conscience has a way of bringing past actions into sharp focus when the noise of everyday life subsides. If someone has wronged you, the weight of that wrongdoing can follow them, creating a desire to make amends, not always for your benefit, but often to ease their own guilt. They may come back to you, apologetic or remorseful, hoping to rewrite the narrative of their actions so they can see themselves in a better light. Sometimes, their return is rooted in dependencies. People often do not realize what they had until it's gone. This is especially true in relationships, where one person consistently gave more, be it emotional support, understanding, or even physical presence. When that source of comfort disappears, they are forced to confront their own inadequacies. Instead of growing or finding another way to meet their needs, they might return to you as a source of familiarity and stability, even if they were the ones who destabilized the relationship in the first place. Fear also plays a significant role. For some, the fear of being alone or the realization that other relationships are not as fulfilling pushes them back toward the person they hurt. People can be driven by the need to avoid loneliness or the failure of other connections, making their return less about reconciliation and more about escaping their own emptiness. Pramayera. Then there are those who return because of the comfort of the familiar. Humans are creatures of habit, and even when a relationship is flawed, it can still feel safer than stepping into the unknown. This kind of return is not about change or growth, but about clinging to what feels predictable. Understanding these reasons helps us see that their return is often less about love or a genuine desire to make things right and more about their own journey. Their actions are a mirror of their struggles, not a reflection of your worth. Recognizing this is key to deciding how to respond, because their reasons for coming back should never dictate your choice to let them in again. Your peace and well-being must always come first. When we experience repeated cycles of hurt and return, it's easy to think of the situation as a one-off event or mistake, but in reality, it's often a pattern, a pattern that speaks volumes about the deeper dynamics of the relationship and the individuals involved. These cycles are not random. They are rooted in patterns of behavior, emotional dependency, and unresolved issues that, unless addressed, keep repeating themselves. At the heart of this pattern is the emotional and psychological attachment that forms between people. This attachment is powerful, and sometimes it blinds us to the truth about the nature of the relationship. The cycle begins when someone hurts you, either intentionally or unintentionally. The hurt causes a deep emotional wound, one that demands time to heal. But instead of allowing that healing process to take its natural course, the person returns, often before the wound is fully healed, triggering a familiar emotional response. In many cases, the person returns because they are seeking something they need, be it validation, comfort, or attention. They might not have changed at all, but they know the emotional space you occupy, and they gravitate toward it when they feel empty or uncertain. What makes this pattern particularly dangerous is that it lures you back into a false sense of hope. The returning individual may say all the right things, promise that they've changed, and act in ways that appear sincere. But the truth is, unless both parties are willing to acknowledge and break the cycles of behavior that led to the hurt in the first place, the relationship will inevitably fall back into familial territory. The patterns don't change just because someone returns and apologizes. In fact, the emotional weight of unresolved issues only grows with each return, making it harder to break free. Another reason these cycles persist is that both people may be unconsciously seeking to right the wrongs of the past, which often leads to an unhealthy push-pull dynamic. There's a deep emotional craving to undo the hurt and make things better. But without a solid foundation of understanding, it becomes a vicious cycle of hope and disappointment. For the one who returns, it's about the need to resolve guilt, prove that they are still valued, or reclaim what was lost. For the one who was hurt, there is often a longing for closure or a belief that this time things will be different. But this expectation is what makes us vulnerable. We forget that closure cannot be given by someone who has hurt us. It must come from within ourselves. Without this internal shift, the cycle continues. The comfort of familiarity also feeds into these patterns. Even when a relationship is painful, there is a certain ease in knowing the person, understanding their behaviors, and anticipating their reactions. It is easy to fall into the trap of believing that something is worth salvaging just because it's familiar. This sense of familiarity can give false hope, especially when the other person shows signs of change. But often, these changes are superficial and not deep enough to break the deeper cycles that cause the hurt in the first place. The emotional vulnerability that comes with being hurt often makes us willing to believe in the possibility of change. We don't want to face the reality that we were wronged, and we hold on to the hope that the return is a chance for things to be restored. But the truth is, patterns rarely break on their own. Both individuals must acknowledge their roles, their insecurities, and the past mistakes that brought them to this point in order to heal and move forward. Without this self-awareness, the cycle will continue, and with each return, the emotional cost will become greater. The key takeaway here is that the repetition of hurt and return is not a coincidence. It is a pattern that must be recognized, understood, and addressed in order to break free from its hold. If we fail to do so, we risk remaining stuck in the same emotional space repeating the same mistakes, and allowing the cycle of hurt to keep spinning. Healing is a deeply personal and transformative process, and understanding the nature of healing is crucial when navigating the complexities of relationships, especially those involving repeated hurt. The act of healing doesn't just involve mending the wound caused by another's actions. It also requires a deep, often challenging journey of self-awareness, self-love, and the establishment of clear boundaries. The nature of healing is not passive. It demands active participation, and often it requires you to reassess your relationship with yourself and with others. The first step in this process is recognizing that true healing comes from within. No one can heal you except yourself. While others can offer apologies, explanations, or gestures of reconciliation, the power to heal lies in your ability to forgive, to let go, and to create space for growth. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as an act of mercy toward the one who hurt you. But in reality, it is an act of self-liberation. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what they did was okay or that you must allow them back into your life. It means you release the emotional burden they left you with, freeing yourself from the power they hold over your peace of mind. This is not a simple task. It is a conscious decision that must be made over and over again until you can move forward without carrying the weight of past offenses. Another crucial aspect of healing is understanding your own worth. Too often, when we are hurt by others, especially by those we care about, we can start to internalize the hurt. We question our value, wonder if we did something to deserve the treatment we received, or believe that we are somehow flawed because of the actions of others. But healing requires us to remind ourselves that the actions of others do not define our worth. The fact that someone returned after hurting us does not mean we were never worthy in the first place. It means they did not recognize our value when it mattered most. Rebuilding our sense of worth involves developing a strong sense of self-respect, setting boundaries, and embracing the fact that we deserve love, respect, and peace regardless of the actions of others. Boundaries play a significant role in the healing process. Too often we allow the same people who hurt us to re-enter our lives because we fear confrontation, or we hold on to the hope that they will change. But healthy boundaries are essential for healing and growth. These boundaries act as a protective shield, ensuring that we are not continually exposed to harmful patterns or emotional manipulation. Setting boundaries is not about building walls. It's about creating a safe space for ourselves where we can heal without the threat of further harm. This can be incredibly challenging, especially when the people who hurt us are those we love. But it is necessary for our emotional well-being. Another key component of healing is recognizing that not all relationships are meant to be restored. And this realization often comes with painful clarity. We must acknowledge that some relationships have served their purpose, and that keeping them alive only prolongs our pain. Just because someone returns doesn't mean they should be welcomed back into your life. Sometimes healing means walking away and allowing both yourself and the other person the space to grow. The need to fix everything, to make everything right, can sometimes cloud our judgment and prevent us from moving forward. True healing comes from the ability to release what no longer serves us, even when it's difficult, and trust that we are worthy of more than repeated cycles of hurt. Healing is not a linear process. It's messy, it's complex, and it doesn't happen overnight. But the more we understand its nature, the better equipped we are to navigate it. Healing requires patience, not only with others, but with ourselves. It's a process of shedding old wounds, growing from the pain, and making space for a future that is not defined by past hurt. When we embrace the nature of healing, we give ourselves the permission to move forward, to thrive, and to create a life where peace and fulfillment are within our reach, regardless of the people who may have tried to hold us back. When we talk about reconciliation, there is an important distinction that needs to be made. The difference between healthy restoration and manipulative tendencies. Not every return is an invitation to rebuild what was once broken. And not every attempt at reconciling is born out of genuine intention. Sometimes the person who returns is not seeking to restore what was lost, but to reassert control, to manipulate the situation, or to fulfill their own unmet needs at the expense of your emotional well-being. Understanding this distinction is crucial because it will guide your decision making and help you protect yourself from further hurt. Healthy reconciliation is built on the foundation of mutual understanding, respect, and change. When someone returns and expresses genuine remorse, it is important to see if their actions align with their words. Genuine reconciliation is not just about saying sorry. It's about demonstrating that they have learned from their mistakes, that they have made a conscious effort to change the behavior that caused the harm in the first place. This kind of reconciliation is a two-way street. It involves communication, vulnerability, and a shared commitment to rebuilding the trust that was broken. However, this is only possible when both parties are willing to engage in self-reflection and acknowledge the role they played in the situation. Without this mutual effort, reconciliation cannot truly take place. On the other hand, manipulative tendencies can often masquerade as reconciliation. When someone returns without acknowledging their past behavior or only offers superficial apologies, it's a red flag. If their return is more about them needing something from you, whether it's emotional support, validation, or an easy way out of their own guilt or discomfort, it is not a genuine attempt at healing. In these cases, the person may not have truly changed, but rather is seeking to regain their previous position of comfort or control in your life. Manipulative individuals often make promises that they cannot keep or try to emotionally pressure you into forgiving them, not because they want to rebuild a healthy relationship, but because they want to relieve themselves of their emotional burden at your expense. These manipulative behaviors are often subtle, disguised in the language of love, remorse, and promises of change. They might express their return in a way that makes you feel guilty or responsible for their happiness. They may even convince you that they've changed, but their actions don't support their words. The challenge here is to recognize the difference between someone genuinely striving for personal growth and someone who is trying to manipulate the situation for their own benefit. It's also important to remember that reconciliation doesn't always mean re-entry into the same relationship dynamic. Sometimes the most loving and wise thing you can do is to set a boundary that protects your peace. Reconciliation might mean coming to terms with the past, offering forgiveness, not for their benefit, but for your own, and allowing space for both of you to move forward separately. Rebuilding a relationship might not look the same as it once did, and in some cases the healthiest choice is to let go completely. The ability to discern between genuine reconciliation and manipulation requires a deep understanding of self-worth and self-respect. When you are confident in who you are, You become more attuned to the true motivations behind someone's actions. Healthy reconciliation can only take place when both individuals are capable of addressing the past honestly, making amends, and evolving. Manipulation, on the other hand, thrives on emotional vulnerability and a lack of boundaries. Reconciliation is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's about understanding the context of each situation and being honest with yourself about what is truly needed for healing, both for you and for the other person. Sometimes reconciliation means coming together to build something new, and other times it means recognizing that the best way forward is to part ways. Knowing that both have learned, grown, and evolved from the experience. The key is not just in the return of the other person, but in your ability to stand firm in your own values, in your understanding of what a healthy relationship truly looks like, and in your ability to prioritize your own peace above all else. Taking responsibility for your own peace is one of the most empowering steps you can take when someone who has hurt you returns. We often give too much power to others, allowing their actions, words, and decisions to control how we feel, how we react, and how we view ourselves. The truth, however, is that no one can take away your peace unless you allow them to. You hold the key to your emotional well-being. And when you take full responsibility for it, you reclaim the strength to navigate life's challenges on your own terms. At the core of taking responsibility for your peace is the realization that you are not obligated to let anyone back into your life simply because they return. While it's natural to feel compassion, empathy, or even a sense of obligation towards someone who has hurt you, it's important to recognize that your peace is invaluable. You are not required to compromise your sense of well-being for the sake of someone else's comfort. This may sound harsh, but it's a necessary truth. Protecting your peace is more important than accommodating the needs of someone who has previously caused you harm. You do not owe anyone the right to disturb your emotional equilibrium, especially if they have not demonstrated a true willingness to change or grow. One of the most difficult aspects of taking responsibility for your peace is setting boundaries. Boundaries are not just limits you set with others. They are declarations of self-respect. They signal to others and to yourself that you are worthy of a life free from toxicity, manipulation, or emotional distress. Establishing these boundaries requires courage, particularly when the person who has hurt you is someone you care about or have an emotional connection with. It can feel uncomfortable to say no or to refuse someone entry into your life, but the ability to do so is a powerful testament to your commitment to yourself. Boundaries might look like limiting the time you spend with that person, asking for clear communication about what they want, or even deciding that you cannot have them in your life at all if their return is not in alignment with your peace. Taking responsibility for your peace also means acknowledging the importance of self-care. After being hurt, it's easy to become consumed by the emotional aftermath, by anger, sadness, betrayal, or confusion. But in order to heal and protect your peace, you must prioritize your own well-being. This might involve finding healthy outlets for your emotions, such as journaling, talking with a trusted friend, engaging in physical activities, or seeking professional counseling. The goal is not to suppress your emotions, but to create space for them without allowing them to dominate your life. Self-care helps you regain clarity, process your feelings, and restore your emotional balance, enabling you to make decisions that are in your best interest. Another essential part of taking responsibility for your peace is learning to trust yourself again. When someone hurts you and then returns, it can shake your confidence in your own judgment. You may second guess your decision to cut them off in the first place, or wonder if you're being too harsh by not welcoming them back. But trusting your own instincts is crucial. You know your limits, you know what is acceptable, and you know what it takes to make you feel safe and respected. Listening to your intuition allows you to make decisions that align with your inner peace, rather than reacting out of guilt, fear, or obligation. Taking responsibility for your peace involves understanding that forgiveness is for you, not them. Forgiving someone does not mean excusing their behavior or inviting them back into your life. It means releasing the emotional hold they have over you so that you can move forward without being weighed down by resentment or anger. Forgiveness is about liberating yourself from the cycle of hurt so that you can reclaim the peace and emotional freedom that is rightfully yours. It's a process, often requiring time and effort, but it's one of the most powerful ways you can take control of your emotional health. Taking responsibility for your peace is a conscious, ongoing effort. It requires setting boundaries, practicing self-care, trusting your instincts, and understanding that forgiveness is ultimately about freeing yourself. By prioritizing your own emotional well-being, you ensure that you are in a position of strength, no longer defined by the hurtful actions of others, but by your ability to choose peace, regardless of the circumstances.